On Thanksgiving morning in November, Margaret Winston stood before her mirror fastening her pearl necklace, thinking about her first Thanksgiving without her husband Robert. Though traces of grief from losing her beloved husband 2 years ago still lingered on her face, today was a special day she would spend with her daughter Linda's family. When Robert suddenly passed away from a heart attack, Margaret had inherited a vast fortune. Her husband, the founder of Winston Real Estate Development, had built assets worth millions of dollars through wise investments and business operations. There was the luxury apartment in Manhattan, the vacation home in Connecticut, and various investment portfolios. Overnight, Margaret had become one of the wealthiest widows on the East Coast. "Mom, you're really coming, aren't you?" Linda's voice sounded bright even over the phone. "Emma has been wanting to see you so much. I'm planning to make lots of your favorite dishes for Thanksgiving dinner." Margaret drove herself to Linda's house in the suburbs of upstate New York. Along the way, she stopped at a florist to buy a bouquet of white roses, Linda's favorite. Linda was a kind daughter who always appreciated gifts from her mother. Linda's house was a two-story single-family home in a middle-class neighborhood, quite a contrast to the luxurious penthouse where Margaret lived. Linda, who opened the front door, was wearing more careful makeup than usual and a new dress. "Mom, welcome." Linda hugged her mother tightly. Today is going to be a special day. When she entered the house, Linda's husband Kevin greeted her with a smile. Kevin had previously run a small IT consulting company, but lately he didn't like to talk about work in detail. Margaret sensed he was struggling financially, but she thought it wasn't appropriate to interfere in her daughter's marriage. "Margaret, thank you for coming today." Kevin took his mother-in-law's hands in both of his. "Having you here means everything to Linda and me." Just then, running down the stairs came 6-year-old granddaughter Emma. Emma, with her golden hair tied in twin tails, ran straight to her grandmother when she saw her. "Grandma." Emma threw her small arms around Margaret's waist. "I missed you. I want to hear more of your stories." Margaret's heart warmed. Emma was her only grandchild and the most precious being in the world to her. Emma was the only one who she felt truly loved her for herself, not for her wealth. "Emma, you've grown so much." Margaret lifted her granddaughter and kissed her cheek. "Today we'll have lots of time to talk." The living room was decorated for Thanksgiving. Orange pumpkins, colorful leaves, and handmade gratitude messages adorned the walls. She could tell Linda had worked hard to prepare everything. "Mom, please sit down." Linda guided her mother to the most comfortable sofa. "I've prepared a special menu this year. Roast turkey that you used to love, and cranberry sauce from Grandma's recipe. Plus, I made some special side dishes too." "Special side dishes?" Margaret smiled. "I'm looking forward to that." While Kevin poured wine, Emma sat on her grandmother's lap and began happily telling her about what happened at school. Watching her innocent smile, Margaret remembered her late husband. Robert had also adored Emma, and if he were alive, how much he would have enjoyed a family gathering like today's. "Grandma," Emma whispered in a small voice. "Can we have tea together again, just the two of us? With my dolls?" "Of course, Emma." Margaret gently stroked her granddaughter's head. "You can come visit Grandma anytime." Linda and Kevin were preparing the final dishes in the kitchen while occasionally peeking into the living room. There was an unusual tension in their expressions, but Margaret interpreted it as Linda being concerned about the Thanksgiving meal. "Dinner will be ready soon," Linda called from the kitchen. "Today is really going to be a special Thanksgiving." Margaret was having the most peaceful time she'd had in a long while, talking with Emma. Feeling anew the happiness of being with family, she wished this peaceful afternoon could last forever. Linda called from the kitchen, "Dinner is ready." Margaret took Emma's hand and headed to the dining room. The table was set with a white lace tablecloth, and Linda's treasured grandmother's heirloom china was beautifully arranged. "Oh, what a lovely setting," Margaret exclaimed. "Linda, you really are a wonderful hostess." Thank you, Mom. Linda's cheeks flushed. Since today is a special day, I wanted to use our finest china. Kevin brought a wine bottle and poured it into everyone's glasses. Margaret didn't usually drink much wine, but thinking today was special, she accepted without hesitation. Let's make a toast. Kevin raised his glass. To being grateful that our family can be together. Cheers to family, everyone said in unison. Emma happily held up her small glass filled with milk, imitating the adults by saying, "Cheers." Seeing her innocent smile, Margaret's heart warmed. Linda brought dish after dish from the kitchen. Golden brown turkey, cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, and sweet potatoes. Everything was traditional Thanksgiving fare, perfect in both appearance and aroma. Mom, this is just for you. Linda placed a special small bowl in front of Margaret. I made herb stuffing that you used to love, with a special recipe. It might be a bit too rich for others, so this is just for you. Margaret was touched. You made this specially for me. Thank you, Linda. Of course, Mom. Linda's voice carried unnaturally excessive kindness. I want you to stay healthy and well always. Kevin agreed. That's right. You're truly precious to our family. Today, please relax completely and enjoy the delicious food. Margaret was moved by their words. Lately, it was unusual for her daughter and son-in-law to show such concern for her, and it was a pleasant surprise. Emma, Grandma's food looks delicious. Emma was looking at Margaret's special stuffing with interest. I want to try some too. No, Emma, Linda said in a suddenly sharp voice. That's just for Grandma. You have regular stuffing. Emma's expression clouded. But I want to eat the same thing as Grandma. Emma, listen to your mother. Kevin's voice was also stricter than usual. You mustn't touch Grandma's food. Margaret was a bit surprised by her daughter and son-in-law's reaction. She thought it was natural for Emma to want her food, but she was surprised that Linda and Kevin would stop her so forcefully. Linda, I could share a little with Emma, Margaret suggested. No, Mom, Linda shook her head. Emma has food made for Emma. Besides, I calculated the portions for yours, so there won't be enough. Margaret wasn't convinced, but decided to follow the rules of her daughter's house. Emma looked dissatisfied but gave up and began eating the food on her own plate. Please, go ahead and eat, Linda urged. Before it gets cold. Margaret took a forkful of the special stuffing. The taste was certainly delicious, but there was something different from regular stuffing, a faint bitter aftertaste. It's delicious, Linda, Margaret smiled. What herbs did you use? Well, sage, and thyme, and then. Linda hesitated for a moment. Secret ingredients. I tried various things because I wanted you to enjoy it. Kevin refilled the wine and said, Please don't hold back today, eat plenty. Linda worked hard from this morning to make it. To reward her daughter's efforts, Margaret finished all the special stuffing. It was certainly delicious, but by the time she finished eating, she was beginning to feel a mild headache. Grandma, are you okay? Emma asked worriedly. Your face is a little red. I'm fine, Emma, Margaret smiled to reassure her granddaughter. The heating is just a bit too strong. However, she was actually beginning to feel mild dizziness too. She thought it might be the wine, but while she didn't usually drink much, it was unusual to be affected this much by just one glass. Mom, let's have dessert a little later, Linda suggested. Let's relax in the living room first. Yes, Margaret tried to stand up but felt a bit unsteady. Oh, perhaps I'm feeling faint. Be careful, Margaret, Kevin quickly supported her arm. You've had a long journey today, so you must be tired. Moving to the living room, Linda recommended the most comfortable reclining chair. As Margaret sat down, she was beginning to feel uncomfortable about her daughter and son-in-law's excessive kindness. While she was certainly wealthy, being treated so carefully was unusual. Put your feet up and relax, Linda adjusted the footrest for her. Today you're the guest of honor. Emma tried to sit on her grandmother's lap, but Linda stopped her. Emma, Grandma is tired. Let her rest alone for now. But I want to talk with Grandma, Emma protested. Later, Kevin took Emma's hand. Let's let Grandma rest now. Margaret wanted to talk with Emma, but she certainly wasn't feeling well. Her headache was getting stronger, and her vision was becoming slightly blurred. Linda, that special stuffing, what ingredients did you really use? Margaret asked again. Mom, rather than that, please rest, Linda deflected the question. You must be tired. Just then, Emma said in a small voice, Mama, Grandma's face is even redder than before. Linda and Kevin quickly exchanged glances. In that moment, Margaret felt an anxiety she'd never experienced before about the expression on their faces. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was hidden behind her daughter and son-in-law's kindness. Emma, go to your room and do your homework, Linda suddenly commanded. But today is Thanksgiving, isn't it? There's no homework, Emma was confused. Just go to your room, Kevin's voice became stern. Emma looked like she was about to cry as she glanced back at her grandmother. Margaret tried to smile at her granddaughter, but her consciousness was becoming hazy. Something was wrong. But she couldn't clearly understand what was wrong. Linda and Kevin began talking in low voices in the kitchen. Margaret tried to listen to their conversation, but her head was foggy and she couldn't concentrate. While Margaret was resting in the reclining chair with her eyes closed, small hands gently shook her arm. Opening her eyes slightly, she could see Emma's worried face. Grandma, wake up, Emma whispered. Papa and Mama are in the kitchen. This is our chance. Chance. Margaret was confused. Her head was still foggy and she couldn't understand the meaning of Emma's words. Grandma, please. Come with me, Emma took her grandmother's hand and tried to help her stand. I have something important to tell you. Margaret was moved by her granddaughter's serious expression. Though she wasn't feeling well, there must be a reason why Emma was pleading so desperately. Where are we going, Emma? To my room. We can talk quietly there. Emma pulled her grandmother's hand and quietly went up the stairs. She could hear Linda and Kevin's voices from the kitchen, but the two seemed to be discussing something intensely and didn't seem to notice them. Emma's room was a typical 6-year-old girl's room with pink wallpaper and lots of dolls and stuffed animals. Emma quietly closed the door and had her grandmother sit on the edge of the bed. Grandma, you can't stay here. You have to run away right now, Emma said with a serious expression. Emma, what are you saying? Margaret was bewildered. Why do I have to run away? Tears welled up in Emma's eyes. Papa and Mama. She continued in a small voice. Papa and Mama put medicine in your food. Margaret's blood froze. Medicine? What kind of medicine? I don't know. But Papa said, this will make her fall asleep. Mama was worried and said, but she won't die, will she? And Papa said, it's okay, it's the right amount. Emma's voice was trembling. Emma, is that true? Margaret's voice was also shaking. It's true, Grandma. I was hiding behind the kitchen and listening. Papa took powder from a small bottle and mixed it into your food. That's why Mama got so angry when I said I wanted to eat your food. Margaret's heart pounded violently. That bitter aftertaste of the special stuffing, the headache, dizziness, blurred vision. Everything connected. But why? Why would Papa and Mama do such a thing? Emma said in an even smaller voice, they're always fighting about money. Papa's company is failing and he has lots of debt. So they want Grandma's money. Margaret felt like she couldn't breathe. Her own daughter was trying to poison her mother for money. Emma, how do you know about this? I sometimes listen from upstairs. When Papa and Mama fight, I get scared so I hide and listen. Last night, Papa was talking to a lawyer on the phone. He said, after tomorrow's Thanksgiving, everything will be over. Margaret tried to stand up, but the drug made her unsteady. Emma, we have to get out of here right now. Let's go get the car keys. Grandma, but... Emma pointed toward the window. Look outside. Margaret approached the window and slightly opened the curtain. Then she saw an unbelievable sight. Her beloved dark blue Mercedes was engulfed in fierce flames. What on earth? Margaret murmured. Papa went outside with a lighter earlier, Emma explained in a frightened voice. Then the car immediately started burning. Margaret's knees trembled. Her daughter and son-in-law had completely cut off her escape route. They had drugged her unconscious and burned the car to destroy evidence. Everything was planned. Grandma, what should we do? Emma began to cry. I'm scared. Margaret hugged her granddaughter. As her own condition worsened, this pure child was her only ally. Emma, listen. You are truly a brave child. You saved Grandma. From downstairs, Linda's voice could be heard. Mom. Where are you? They'll find us, Emma whispered. Emma, do you have a cell phone? Margaret asked urgently. Mama has one, but she always keeps it in the kitchen. A landline. In the living room and in Papa and Mama's bedroom. The sound of footsteps coming up the stairs could be heard. Margaret thought desperately. As the drug's effects grew stronger, how could they escape from here? Emma, can you get out through the window? That's impossible, Grandma. We're on the second floor. Mom, where are you? Linda's voice got closer. Margaret made a decision. Emma, you hide. Hide in the closet, and no matter what happens, don't come out. But what about Grandma? Grandma will be fine. But if something happens, ask the neighbors for help. Call the police. 911, do you remember? Emma nodded while wiping her tears. That's right. And tell them everything about today. That Papa and Mama put medicine in the food, that they burned the car, everything. The doorknob turned. Margaret pushed Emma into the closet and closed the door. Mom, there you are, Linda entered the room. What are you doing? I was talking with Emma. Margaret tried to stay calm, but her voice was shaking. Where's Emma? Linda looked around the room. She went to the bathroom, Margaret lied. I see. Mom, you look pale. Let's go downstairs and rest. Linda took her mother's arm. Margaret shook off her daughter's hand. Linda, what exactly have you done? Linda's expression changed. The kind daughter's face disappeared, replaced by a cold, calculating woman's face. Mom, what do you mean? What did you put in my food? Margaret asked directly. Linda was momentarily shaken but quickly regained her smile. Mom, you're tired. You must be confused because of the drug's effects. At that moment, Margaret realized. Linda had said the drug's effects. She had leaked the truth from her own mouth. Linda, you're my daughter. How can you do this? Linda's mask completely came off. Mom, haven't you lived long enough? We need money. Since Papa died, you've been hoarding all the wealth by yourself. We're your family too. Margaret was in despair. Her beloved daughter was trying to kill her mother for money. This was reality. From inside the closet came a small sob. Emma was crying. Linda didn't seem to notice, but Margaret's heart felt like it would break. This pure child had to witness her parents' terrible acts. Come on, Mom. Let's go downstairs. Linda took her mother's arm again. It'll all be over soon. While being led down the stairs by Linda, Margaret's consciousness became increasingly hazy. Her legs tangled, and it was difficult to walk straight without clinging to the handrail. The drug's effects were beginning to show in earnest. "Mom, are you okay?" Linda's voice contained false concern. "You'll feel better soon." When they returned to the living room, Kevin was waiting. His expression was no longer that of a friendly son-in-law, but filled with cold calculation. And beside him stood a stranger. "Margaret, this is our lawyer, Jonathan Blake," Kevin introduced. The man was wearing an expensive suit and carrying a leather briefcase. His eyes were sharp, like a hawk targeting prey. "Mrs. Winston, it's an honor to meet you," Jonathan greeted politely. "How are you feeling?" Margaret understood his identity. "You're an accomplice too." "Accomplice is insulting," Jonathan gave a thin smile. "I'm simply helping with legal procedures." Linda sat Margaret on the sofa. Margaret's body felt heavy, like lead. Her vision was blurred and her concentration scattered. "Mom, today is a special day," Linda knelt in front of her mother. "It's the day to make important decisions about your future." Jonathan took documents from his briefcase. "Mrs. Winston, this is a new will. It reflects your wishes with more realistic content." Margaret tried to look at the documents, but the letters were blurred and unreadable. "What is written?" "Let me explain simply," Kevin held the documents. "It's about inheriting all your assets equally to your beloved daughter Linda and granddaughter Emma. Of course, we'll manage Emma's portion until she comes of age. Also," Jonathan added, "since you're showing early symptoms of dementia, there's a clause delegating property management to your daughter and son-in-law." Margaret tried desperately to resist. "I don't have dementia." "Mom, haven't you been forgetting things lately?" Linda said in a gentle voice. "Even today, you don't remember where you put your car keys. And earlier, you said you were talking with Emma when Emma wasn't there." Margaret was confused. The drug's influence was making her memory hazy. But she remembered about Emma. Emma was definitely hiding in the closet. "Now, please sign," Jonathan offered a pen. "This will end everything. You'll feel better too." Just then, the front door was knocked on violently. Everyone froze. "Police! Open the door." Linda and Kevin looked at each other. Jonathan whispered, "Who called them?" "I don't know," Kevin whispered back. "Maybe the neighbors saw the car fire." The knocking continued. "This is the police. Open the door immediately." Linda stood up. "What should we do?" "Mom is still conscious and hasn't signed the will." "Stay calm," Kevin whispered instructions. "Handle it normally. Explain it's a family Thanksgiving gathering." Jonathan quickly put the documents back in his briefcase. "I'm going out the back door." Just then, small footsteps could be heard from upstairs, and Emma came running down the stairs. She was holding something in her hand. "I made the call," Emma said loudly. "I called 911 and told them everything." Kevin's face went pale. "What did you tell them?" "I told them that Papa and Mama put medicine in Grandma's food, and that they burned the car, everything." Emma's voice was trembling but full of determination. Linda tried to approach her daughter, but Emma ran away. "Emma, that's a lie. It's your imagination." "It's not a lie," Emma shouted. "I saw everything. I even took pictures with the cell phone I was hiding." What Emma was holding wasn't the toy cell phone she had been secretly keeping, but a real one. "Where did you get that?" Kevin confronted her. "I borrowed it from Grandma's bag. I took pictures of you mixing the medicine in the kitchen." The sound of the front door being broken down could be heard. Police officers entered the house. "Nobody move." 3 police officers entered the living room with guns drawn. One of them, a female officer, gently spoke to Emma. "You're Emma, aren't you? The brave girl who called us." Emma ran to the police officer. "Help Grandma. Papa and Mama made her drink poison." The police officer immediately checked Margaret's condition. "Call an ambulance. Possible drug poisoning." Linda desperately tried to explain. "Officer, this is a misunderstanding. My mother has dementia, and my daughter is just confused." "Be quiet," a male police officer handcuffed Linda. "You have the right to remain silent." Kevin also tried to resist but was quickly subdued. Jonathan was caught by police officers waiting outside as he tried to escape through the back door. "Emma, can you show me that cell phone?" the female officer asked gently. Emma handed over the cell phone. The screen clearly showed a photo of Kevin sprinkling powder from a small bottle into the food. "Well done, Emma. Thanks to you, we were able to save Grandma." Paramedics arrived and put Margaret on a stretcher. Her consciousness was hazy, but she held Emma's hand. "Emma, thank you." "Grandma, are you okay?" Emma asked through tears. "I'm okay, thanks to you." On the way to the hospital in the ambulance, Margaret thought in her fading consciousness. Her own daughter had tried to kill her mother. But her 6-year-old granddaughter had saved her grandmother. She learned firsthand that true love is far stronger than blood ties. By the time they arrived at the hospital, Margaret's condition was stable. According to the doctor, the drug she had taken was a type of sleeping pill, not a lethal dose. However, it was a dangerous amount for an elderly person. At the police station, Linda, Kevin, and Jonathan were being interrogated in separate rooms. With Emma's testimony, the cell phone photos, and evidence of the burned car, the guilt of all three was clear. All were arrested on charges of attempted murder, evidence tampering, and attempted fraud. Thanksgiving night ended in a way no one had expected. In the hospital bed, Margaret fell asleep holding Emma's small hand. 3 months later, Margaret and Emma were having a small tea party on the terrace of the Manhattan penthouse. Emma's favorite dolls sat in chairs, and a pink tea set was arranged between them. "Grandma, today's tea is especially delicious," Emma said, carefully holding a small cup. "Yes, Emma. Because I'm with you, everything tastes delicious," Margaret smiled while looking at her granddaughter's smile. 3 months had passed since that terrible Thanksgiving, and Margaret's life had changed greatly. The court granted Margaret custody of Emma, officially making her the guardian. Emma transferred to a new school and spent every day with her grandmother. "Emma, what are you planning to do at school tomorrow?" "In art class, we're drawing pictures of our families." "I'm thinking of drawing a picture of you and me," Emma's eyes sparkled. "The teacher said that family means people who are happy being together." Margaret's chest warmed. "That's exactly right, Emma. Loving each other is much more important than blood relations." Linda received an 8-year sentence for attempted murder and fraud and was currently serving time in a state prison. At first, she refused visits, but recently she had begun writing letters to her mother. These letters contained deep regret for trying to hurt her mother because she was blinded by money. "Mom, I did something unforgivable. But meeting many people in prison has made me think about the true meaning of family. Thank you for loving Emma. I pray that someday you might forgive me." Margaret shed tears every time she read those letters, but she couldn't hate her daughter. She hoped that someday Linda would truly rehabilitate and return. Kevin had completed divorce proceedings, lost all his assets, and moved to another state. He couldn't bear the pressure of business failure and debt, and had been dominated by financial greed. Emma sometimes mentioned her father, but Margaret always answered gently. "Papa is thinking about his mistakes now. People sometimes make mistakes, but what's important is learning from them." Lawyer Jonathan Blake had his law license revoked and received a 5-year sentence for fraud. His case became a catalyst for bringing attention to crimes targeting the elderly by corrupt lawyers as a social problem. "Grandma, let's take a picture of us." Emma brought a camera. "What a lovely idea." Margaret stood up and stood next to Emma. The self-timer clicked, capturing their smiles in the photo. Margaret thought this photo would become her most precious treasure. In the evening, the two cooked dinner together. Emma stood on a small step stool, helping her grandmother. "Grandma, let's celebrate just the two of us next Thanksgiving," Emma suggested. "Let's do that. But this time, let's talk about what we're grateful for." "I'm grateful that Grandma is here with me," Emma said with a serious face. "I'm also deeply grateful that Emma is here with me. If you weren't here, I don't know what would have happened to me." That night, after putting Emma to bed, Margaret sat quietly thinking in the living room. What she learned from that terrible night was that family is not bound by blood relations, but by love and caring for each other. The courage and love shown by her 6-year-old granddaughter was purer and stronger than any adult's. Emma not only saved her grandmother but taught her what true family means. Margaret looked out at the night view through the window and spoke in her heart to her late husband Robert. "Robert, we were truly blessed with a wonderful granddaughter. Thanks to Emma, I can still enjoy life." The next morning, before Emma left for school, Margaret hugged her granddaughter. "Emma, thank you always. You are the light of my life." "You're my light too, Grandma," Emma answered. "Let's stay together forever." "Of course, dear Emma. Forever together." As Margaret saw Emma off at the entrance, she felt truly happy. Now that she had found her true family, every day was as special as Thanksgiving. A new life filled with love and trust spread out before grandmother and granddaughter.